Subscribe to LearnCab and hit the bell icon to get notified.
So welcome back, my dear ones. Now it's time to understand the next chargeable income under 56 subsection 2 clause 10, that is sum of money or value of property received without consideration or for inadequate consideration subject to tax in the hands of a recipient. So normally we will call it as taxation for gifts and all. Alright, say you are getting a sum of money or value of property without consideration or for inadequate consideration. Alright, then the benefit received by you shall be taxable under 56 subsection 2 clause 10. Now let's get into details. So where any person receives in any previous year from a person or persons the following income, it shall be chargeable to tax under the head IFRS, irrespective of the person gives and irrespective of the person receives. The person who receives, if in these following circumstances, in circumstances 1, 2 and 3, which we are going to discuss, in these circumstances, that income will be chargeable under 56 subsection 2 clause 10, that is under IFRS. Now let's understand the first circumstance. It is sum of money. So whenever I say first circumstance, then what should come into your mind? It is sum of money. Alright. So if any sum of money received without consideration and the aggregate value of which exceeds rupees 50,000, then whole of the aggregate value of such sum is chargeable to tax. Simply it means, say one of my friend, I will give you an example. The example is very simple. One of my friend, Mr. A, has gifted me rupees 75,000 in 2019-20. Alright, and JK received 75,000 in cash in 2019-20, and again Mr. B has also given me 25,000 in 2019-20. It is also cash. Without consideration, they have simply given me 75,000 and 25,000. So what is the aggregate value of money which I have received in 19-20? It is 1 lakh. And the question is whether it is more than 50,000. Yes. Is there a consideration? No. Then this entire 1 lakh is taxable under section 56 subsection 2 clause 10. So it says if you are in receipt of a money without consideration, then the aggregate value of money received by you in a year, if it is more than 50,000, then the entire value is taxable under the first circumstance which is mentioned under 56 subsection 2 clause 10. I hope it is clear. It's very simple. Gift by way of or gift as money or money as a gift received by any person. And the value of money more than 50,000, taxable under 56 subsection 2 clause 10. Now let's move on to understand the circumstance number 2. Say I am in receipt of an immovable property, being a land or a building or a both. Say I am in receipt of a land or a building or both. Alright. In the first circumstance, it is without consideration. So I will rewrite this circumstance by way of a flow chart. Alright. So first circumstance is in relation to cash as gift. And the value exceeds 50,000 in aggregate. Then it will be taxable under IFRS, right? So in circumstance number 2, I received what? Immovable property. Immovable property. And the value, immovable property being either a land or a building or a land and building, whatever it is. Then there can be two possibilities. Either without consideration. I have received these properties, either say without consideration. If it is without consideration, then what you have to check? You have to check whether the stamp duty value of land or building or land and building is more than rupees 50,000. If the stamp duty value of that land which I have received or of that building which I have received or the land and building which I have received, if it is more than rupees 50,000, then what will happen? The entire value is taxable under 56 subsection 2 clause 10. That's what the alternative of first circumstance. Again, I'll read out. The stamp duty value of such property would be taxed as income in the hands of recipient if it exceeds rupees 50,000. Again, let me tell you one more thing. This 50,000 is applicable per property. Say, Mr. Friend of mine has gifted me a particular land and its stamp duty value was 45,000. And JK received this in 2019-20. And Mr. K, my another friend, has given me a building. All right. And its stamp duty value is, say, 49,000. And JK received it in 2019-20. So the same total which I've received is around 94 lakh, but 50,000 limit is applicable per property. So per property, if the value is less than 50,000, so definitely there is no taxation under section 56 subsection 2 clause 10. It is not applicable. Why? Per property, if the stamp duty value which I have received is less than 50,000 rupees, here it is applicable, 50,000 is applicable per property. But in the case of money, it was aggregate money received by a person. Alright, here it is per property, and in both circumstances, it is not taxable because the first land's value, stamp duty value was only 45,000 and the second building's value was only 49,000, and in both circumstances, it is less than 50,000, and hence 56 subsection 2 clause 10 will not applicable in both of these circumstances. Hope it is clear. Alright, now let's understand the possibility number 2. If it is for what? Inadequate consideration. If it is for inadequate consideration, then you should satisfy. There should be 2 conditions must be satisfied. Alright, and what is the condition number 1? The difference between actual consideration paid by you, or we can say difference between consideration and stamp duty value should be more than in rupees 50,000, or we can say that consideration minus stamp duty value, or in the other way, stamp duty value is more, right? Stamp duty value minus consideration if it is more than 50,000. Inadequate consideration simply means a consideration which is not adequate, right? So you are paying a consideration which is less than stamp duty value and the difference is more than 50,000. And there is one more condition, and the condition number 2, it says your stamp duty value is should be more than 110% of your actual consideration. So your stamp duty value should be more than 110% of your consideration if both the conditions are satisfied. The separator is and. If both the conditions are satisfied, then that difference will be taxable under 56 subsection 2 clause 10 as an inadequate consideration. I will give you one example, don't worry. So the example, it says, say I got a land and the stamp duty value of the land was, say, 117 lakhs. Alright, 117 lakhs is the stamp duty value. And say the actual consideration paid by me is only 100 lakhs. Now what you have to check, this is the classic example of inadequate consideration. Inadequate consideration. Now the thing you have to check, whether the difference between the stamp duty value and consideration is more than rupees 50. Here the difference is 17 lakh. So it is more than 50,000. So condition number 1 satisfied. Then you have to check one more condition is there. If both are satisfied, that is taxable under 56 subsection 2 clause 10. Alright. So condition number 2, it says your stamp duty value should be more than 110% of your actual consideration. So what is the actual consideration here? 100 lakhs. Alright. And your stamp duty value is around 117% of your actual consideration, right? Because your stamp duty value is 117 and your actual consideration is 100. So your stamp duty value is 117% of your actual consideration. So definitely the second condition is also satisfied. If both the conditions are satisfied, then what will happen? This 17 lakh will be taxable in the hands of the recipient. Say JK got this house property and JK paid 100 lakh at the time of receipt of house property. Then the 17 lakh will be taxable in the hands of JK under section 56 subsection 2 clause 10. Because I've got a benefit, right? A property which has a stamp duty value of 117 lakh has been received by me 400 lakhs. So I'm getting a benefit, and that benefit is rupees 17 lakh. And both the conditions under 56 subsection 2 clause 10 are satisfied, and hence that 17 lakh will be taxable in the hands of recipient under 56 subsection 2 clause 10. I hope it is clear. All right, now let's move forward. Now there is one more point. If the stamp duty value is available as per the date of agreement and date of registration. Say for example, JK received the property, there was an agreement for the receipt of the property, and the agreement was in 1st January 2021, and the registration happened in 31st March 2021. This was the registration date. Say the stamp duty value of the property as on date of agreement is 117, and the stamp duty value as on date of transfer is 120. Now the question is, which stamp duty value I have to consider? Say if JK has paid an advance, here if the JK has paid an advance by way of account pay check or account pay bank draft or electronic clearing system or through prescribed electronic modes, either on or before date of agreement, then the stamp duty value as on date of agreement can be considered. Hope you remember, this is similar to 43CA and section 50C. 43CA, land and building held as stock in trade. Your stamp duty value, if the actual consideration is less than stamp duty value shall be deemed to be what? Your sales consideration. Just like that, 50C, land and building held as capital asset have been transferred for a value which is less than your what? Stamp duty value. Then stamp duty value shall be deemed to be the full value consideration. Hope you remember 43CA and 50C, which we have discussed under PGBP and capital gains. Similar to that, under section 56 subsection 2 clause 10 also, if there is stamp duty value is available as per date of agreement and as per date of registration, and both are different, then if on the date of agreement you have paid any advance either by way of an account pay check or account pay bank draft or electronic clearing system or through other prescribed electronic modes, say for example your BMAP, UPI, etc., then that stamp duty value on date of agreement can be considered. In all other case, stamp duty value as on date of transfer shall be considered. Hope it is clear. All right. So that's all about circumstance number 2. First circumstance, it was a receipt of money. Second circumstance, it is in receipt of immovable property. Now let's understand the third circumstance, that is in relation to what? Movable property. Movable property. So let's understand movable property also. There are two possibilities. So it is the third circumstance, you have received a movable property. Movable property. And there can be two circumstances, either without consideration. Without consideration. Here, inadequate consideration. Inadequate consideration. If the movable property is received by me, say any person, say for example by me, without consideration, and the value of total movable property received in a year and the fair market value of aggregate value of immovable property received by me is more than 50,000 in a year, then entire amount will be taxable under 56 subsection 2 clause 10. You want an example? I will give you an example. Say I got a drawing from my friend. And its worth was 45,000. Alright. Again, one of my friend has given me a jewelry. And its worth was, say, another 45,000. So, per property, it is less than 50, but both are received in 2019-20. So, what is the aggregate value of property, movable property received by me? It is 90,000. And hence, this entire 90,000 is taxable under section 56, subsection 2, clause 10. So, that's what the first alternative. If I am in receipt of a movable property without consideration and the value and the aggregate value of the movable property received by me in a year, if it is more than 50,000, then the entire value is taxable under 56 subsection 2 clause 10. Now what if it is received for an inadequate consideration? That's what we are going to discuss now. Say The fair market value of a jewelry which I've got is say 1 lakh. All right. And I have paid 20,000 at the time of receipt. So what is the difference between the fair market value and the amount which I've paid? It is 80,000. And this 80,000, if it is more than 50,000, that means if this difference is more than 50,000, then this entire 80,000 is taxable in my hands under section 56, subsection 2, clause 10. That's what the act says. So the point is, when I'm in receipt of an movable property for inadequate consideration and the aggregate value of the difference between the fair market value and the amount which I've paid, if it is more than 50,000, then what will happen? The entire difference, the only difference, will be taxable under 56 subsection 2 clause 10. I hope it is clear. Alright, so these are very, very important provisions when you are discussing IFRS, because most of the time the examiner has a tendency to ask a question from these provisions, especially circumstance 1, 2 and 3. Cash, immovable property and movable property. Alright, now let's discuss certain other important aspects in relation to this 56 subsection 2 clause 10. So there is a note, the provision of 56 subsection 2 clause 10 would apply only to property which is in nature of a capital asset of a recipient, would not apply to stock in trade, raw material, consumable, stores of a business of a recipient. Say a person who is, as a part of his business, sells something. Alright, say for example, I will tell you one example. Say I'm a trader. I'm a trader of perfumes. Alright, so I'm a trader of perfumes. So as you know, the fair market value or the sales price or the MRP, I will say, the market price, the maximum retail price of a perfume is 2,000 rupees. Or I will say it's a very expensive perfume. It is 95,000. This is the MRP. I'm getting this perfume for 20,000. So when I sell this perfume, I will get a profit of what? Profit of this amount, right? 75,000. So when I'm purchasing this perfume for 20,000, you cannot say it is for inadequate consideration, because that is my business and my entire profit will be taxable under PGBP, right? So a person as a part of his business gets a movable property or immovable property for a value which is lesser than your fair market value, then 56 subsection 2 clause 10 is not applicable. All right. So that's what they say. Would not apply to stock in trade, raw materials or consumable of stores of any business of the recipient. If it is a part of the business, then 56 subsection 2 clause 10 is not applicable. Alright. Now let's understand the definition of property. Here I've told you a property, right? And property can be split into two: immovable property and movable property. Immovable property and movable property. Alright. We have discussed, you know what is immovable property. What is immovable property? That is either land or building or land and building. That is the definition for immovable property which I have told you. Now the question is, what do you mean by movable property? Is there a separate definition for movable property? Yes. Property for the purpose of 56 subsection 2 clause 10 means immovable property, land, building or both, and other property, movable property means shares and securities, jewelry, archaeological collections, drawings, paintings, sculptures, any work of art and bullion. These are the only movable property, or these can be called as movable property. When a person receives these movable property either without consideration or for inadequate consideration, then 56 subsection 2 clause 10 will be applicable. And that simply means in the case of receipt of other movable properties, there won't be any 56 subsection 2 clause 10. You want an example? Say one of my friend has gifted me a Rado watch of worth 5 lakhs. My friend has gifted me a Rado watch of worth 5 lakh. Alright. Now the question, whether this watch comes under the definition of movable property? No. Movable property is shares and securities, jewelry, archaeological collection, drawing, painting, sculptures, work of any art and bullion. That is only movable property. And hence this Rado is not as a part of your movable property. And hence JK, while receiving this Rado which has a worth of 5 lakh and I'm paying nothing to my friend, then also no tax impact under 56 subsection 2 clause 10. Why? Because that property which you have received should be any of these property for attracting 56 subsection 2 clause 10. I hope it is clear. Alright. Now, there are certain exceptions to 56 subsection 2 clause 10 and other definition in relation to that. We will discuss that particular thing in the next video. Hope these much is clear.
Subscribe to LearnCap and hit the bell icon to get notified.